Hi, welcome to yet another exciting episode of The AI People, where we share inspiring stories of thinkers and builders who are humanizing AI. Today we are at RSA conference, the biggest cybersecurity conference in the world, and I'm here with Nir, who is a VP of Solutions Engineering at Reco. So Nir, could you please maybe introduce yourself and Reco and maybe provide a quick overview of the core problem that your company is looking to solve for the modern enterprise?
Thank you, Vivek. So, a little bit about myself. Started a career as a lot of cybersecurity people in a company called Checkpoint, if you know that. Then a few years later, just joined a startup. And this kind of stuck with me in the startup world. I mean, the activity, the action, the roller coaster, right? So then after that, the company was acquired by a company called Proofpoint, and now I'm back in startup. So now I'm with Reco. Now Reco's kind of sole purpose is really to provide companies with full visibility into their SaaS, AI, agent, and everything in between, right? So that's kind of the first thing that we want to do. Then provide the level of security that they need for these platforms, and obviously respond to any threats that this can basically generate for the organization. So I'll give you a few examples. The first one is a very large organization here in the United States. The first thing they told us, hey, we know of a certain amount of applications that we have in our ecosystem. I said, all right, can you control them? I said, yes, can you control them? We plugged the system, and then we saw 10x more apps that they have in the environment that they didn't know about, right? So that's the first one. The second one was even more funny, or not funny, but interesting. That was a large pharma, also here in the US. What happened there is that one of the guys there told us that they got a phone call from a very well-known SaaS provider that was telling him, hey guys, you have hundreds of people that are using our application, but you're not paying for this. And they kind of freak out and said, all right, how is that even possible that we didn't even know that we have so many people using this app? So it was kind of a catch-22 situation, because the business wants to use AI, but security is not kind of picking up the pace. So that was kind of the two stories that I wanted to share with you a little bit about how Reco can really help organizations solving this problem.
That's great. Especially in large enterprises, the visibility is a big problem, and you need to be able to govern the company for possible security and risk exposure. So that's good to know.
Absolutely.
And, we've heard a lot about SaaS sprawl over the years with so many tools, and at the practitioner level, whenever something new comes up, people do use these tools. And more recently, we also hear about AI sprawl, at least in the last 3 years. And then now we have AI agents as the next evolution of AI, and you have AI agent as a sprawl as well. And does this introduce new threats that are unique to agentic AI?
Yeah, so agent sprawl is basically an extension to SaaS sprawl and then AI sprawl. And I think that the biggest challenge there is now with agent is speed, right? Speed is the most challenging situation that organizations are facing. So if I'm kind of looking at the problem, maybe I'll divide it into a few categories. So the first reason that it's so problematic, or the problem is not yet solved, is because every vendor today introduce agents. Take Salesforce with Agentforce, take ChatGPT, take Zoom, right? I mean, they started recording sessions, Copilot, Microsoft. So you have a lot of vendors out there that are leveraging agents. So it's another source for them to consume the data from SaaS and use obviously AI for that purpose. So that's the first problem, that vendors are adding those agents. The second thing is people. We are leveraging agents so we can kind of ease the problem, right? But we do that in an ungoverned way. So I create an agent to do a certain task for me, but the security team is even involved in that. I'm as an employee, I'm not always telling the security people about that, and I need to get my job done.
Yeah.
So that's the second problem that we have there. And I think that the last thing is really the speed. So the speed that it happens is just too fast. The business pushes forward. Security is moving slower, obviously. I like to call it the business moves AI fast while security is still running human speed. So I think this is kind of summarize the three things that basically cause that problem with agents right now, and it's so difficult to solve it at this point in time.
That's great. And a car can only go as fast as the brakes would allow. So it's important for both the business as well as the governing functions of the business to move at the same pace. And RSA especially, right? Reco is, as I'm told, is launching a new AI agent security solution. And can you maybe walk me through maybe a nightmare scenario? You'll be talking to a lot of CISOs, CIOs in your customer land as well. So how are enterprises facing these threats today, and what's keeping them up? And because there is lack of visibility into autonomous agents and what they are doing currently for the organization, and especially since they are running in a SaaS environment, it further complicates things in terms of visibility. Can you maybe talk about it?
Yeah, nightmare scenario is a right definition for that. So I'll share a little bit about what I hear, and then I'll give you an example. So the first thing in terms of nightmare scenario is imagine agent to agent in an ungoverned and an unsecure way operation, right? So agent A is doing a certain task that an employee would do that is responsible and knows the rules, right? So if you have an agent that is not governed, and is not controlled, and has access to the internet and has access to all the sources inside the organization, well, communicating with another agent that has the same thing, well, it can become very problematic, right? I mean, it's like a kid, right? I mean, you don't want to give the kids, stuff that are dangerous. So this is the nightmare scenario, because those agents, one agent can have access to sensitive data in the organization, and another one is basically sharing it. Okay, so the example I wanna share with you is imagine this. All right, so we have, let's take ChatGPT. All right, a lot of organizations leveraging ChatGPT. ChatGPT is grabbing video recording from Zoom. Okay, now the ChatGPT itself sends that information into Notion, which uses as the repository of all the knowledge inside the organization, to enrich from an A10, which is another agent orchestrator that basically helps the organization analyze the calls and drive insights from those calls. So that's one agent that the organization put in place, very useful. Weekly updates to the sales organization, weekly update to the product people, generate feature, all that kind of the automation that happens with it. The problem is that another person created an agent using Copilot. No one knew about that, right? And then this agent takes information from Notion, but it shares it to anyone with link. Meaning that as an attacker, myself as an attacker, and I want to go ahead and grab information from Notion, I don't need to attack Notion, I don't need to attack Zoom. I will go for the agent, because the agent will give you all this information. And if you don't know what the agent is able to share outside of the organization, it's the weakest link, right? I mean, take the drift incident that happened, take LLM models that are not secured enough. So you have to have visibility into the entire ecosystem of that, and then you are able to respond to situations like this. So this is why our customers, for example, were not impacted by the DeepSeek fiasco that happened, or the drift incident happened, or the situation between Gainsight and Salesforce. So they saw all of that in time, and they were able to respond to these threats. So.
That's great. Organizational security defenses are only as strong as the weakest link, and right now the weakest link is agents. Although agents have a lot of potential, you also need to have the guardrails to make sure the agents don't go off.
And I think it's also an opportunity, right? I mean, take the nightmare scenario with agent to agent, right? Take two tools that are really, responsible for the security of the organization. Take Reco and a SOAR, right? You have one agent that's supposed to take care of your detection in SaaS, AI agent, and so on, and then a SOAR that will automate the response process. So it's also an opportunity, right? It's not just a nightmare scenario. So if we leverage those AI tools and those agents in a controlled way, and we basically trying to do it right now, I think it's a great opportunity for organization to automate stuff and then focus the people on the more important things while the agents will work for us.
That's awesome. And visibility is only half the battle. Like once Reco, your platform, identifies a high-risk agent, say a custom automation in N89 with excessive access to financial data, which is clearly a red flag that you need to address, how does the platform help a security team then remediate that in real time without breaking critical business workflows? So you're not slowing things down, but at the same time you're taking a corrective action.
Yeah, the remediation piece is very, very important for organization. They spend a ton of money on SOAR and SIEM tools, and they obviously want to use that. If we take the scenario of N8N, trying to kind of automate stuff for the organization, so the way it will operate is that we are going to leverage those tools that the organization invested in. Typically, modern enterprises will want to use those automation tools because they're already plugged into the system. They don't want to introduce a new tool that will remediate for them. They just want to do it as part of the regular respond type of flow that they have. So if you think about it, it's kind of an automated SOC process, right? So we kind of plug ourselves into their own ecosystem of tools, and then it's just another layer of protection that we introduce to the organization. Just focus on SaaS, AI, and agent detection and response. So we'll take care of the detection aspect of things. We'll take care of the enrichment. So one of the things that we do in the platform is that we are leveraging AI agents ourselves. So every detection that we have in the system will have what we call an AI story. So you're kind of getting a human readable response for every alert that you have. You want to consume it, the raw data, yeah, sure, go ahead and do that. But we have the story laid out perfectly inside the system, and then we send all this information into a SOAR tool, and then the SOAR tool can build the automation and then block communication to somewhere or avoid from a certain scenario that you have, depending on the incident itself. Just to give you an example, when we presented that capability about a year ago, and we showed it to one of our customers, the AI story, they were kind of saying, all right, too bad you guys didn't tell me about that, because we just handled an incident, and it took us 8 hours to get to the bottom of it, and with you guys, we'll probably fix it in 15 minutes. So that's detailed, yeah.
That's great to hear. And obviously CISOs are still under immense pressure to say yes to AI, because the problem that they're facing right now is because of AI. And now they also are looking into adopting AI tools to remediate the challenges coming from AI. And how does the level of control provided by Reco help a company accelerate their AI adoption, especially when it comes to cybersecurity? And rather than being seen as just another security hurdle, how do you position yourself as an enabler, and how do you win the confidence of these CISOs to take the plunge?
Yeah, that's actually a very interesting question, and I have a funny answer for you. So one of our customers actually told us that they spiff their department leaders for AI adoption. So they actually give them more credit to spend on AI and spend on other things, other projects that they have, if they will adopt AI. So this is a real thing. Every morning, every board member, executive, reads about AI. And the first question to the security team is, do you know how many AI or agents or SaaS applications we're using in the organization? And the answer is typically no. They have something that, they call it the security committee, or they have what they call one customer told me it's the honor system. And they just trust the people, right? So kind of you want to add another AI app or SaaS app or agent, you go to this committee, and then you present the use case, and then if it's secure, then you'll go ahead and adopt that, right? But I'll quote the same customer told me about that, and he said, the regulator doesn't care about my owner system. And if you don't have a system that will provide you that full visibility into your SaaS applications, into your AI and agents, you won't have this repository of applications. You cannot report back to your board and to your executive team about what AI and SaaS and agent you're using in the organization. So that's the first thing. The second question they will ask themselves, okay, you got visibility, great. How can you secure that? So you want first to secure the application itself. So that's more on the posture side. So you got to have that. And the second question, great, you have posture. What about alerting? So the answer to that is threat detection. So you got to have threat detection. And then the response piece, which we talked about it with SOAR and SIEM and ticketing system. So that's also something that we cover at Reco. And we move super fast, right? I mean, you got to move super fast because the business need to move super fast. So if I'm as you know, a software company, I'm not providing that level of innovation to my customers, in a second I can become irrelevant for that organization because they want to move fast because they have their own competitors. They want to own their business, and I have to keep up. I have to allow them to adopt AI and agents super fast, so they can innovate themselves with AI, and then they can grow their business using my platform. So it's kind of the overall kind of story of Reco and how we help organizations discover, protect, and respond to the threats around SaaS, AI, and agents.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much, Nir, for sharing all your insights and being with the AI people. And I wish Reco a great showing at the Rest of RSA conference and beyond. Thank you so much again.